it is time. We'll start our last talk for this session, and we welcome Shashvat Shukla, I guess, to present. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Switch it on.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here for the last talk of this session. My name is Shashwat, and I am traveling here from London. Kasim and I were based in the University College London. Kasim was an undergrad in a course that I was a TA on. I'm a grad student, and we got talking, and we came up with this idea. So we've heard a lot about courses as a whole. Today, I just want to give you one idea to chew on. It's this thing we've come up with, quantum time capsules. So overview of our project, quantumtimecapsule.com. That's our public engagement project where we're hoping to raise awareness of the quantum threat to information security. I think everyone in the room must have heard of this at some point. But what we're doing is we're turning this threat on its head. So the threat is that quantum computers are going to break encryption. And we're saying, well, let's make people create these time capsule messages where we want them to break the encryption. And we'll create this into a kind of activity that we can involve students in, we can involve people in. These time capsule messages, what I really like about them is that they're going to create a personal connection to quantum computers as these really complex industrial machines that otherwise people talk about applications in physics, chemistry, industrial applications. But doing this, we're giving every person, anyone who receives a quantum time capsule from someone containing a message that's intended to be read by them, this turns anybody into a potential user of a quantum computer. I really like that idea that it then asks questions of access. How are we going to make sure that everyone can access a quantum computer to run this? It also makes lots of other things come up, which I'll talk about later. So the overall view of my talk is I'll just talk about this threat the threat to information security, in case you haven't heard about it. Then I'll talk about the state of public awareness of the quantum threat to information security at the moment and why I think it's quite important. And then I'll go over the website and how to make a quantum time capsule. Finally, I'll talk about our hopes for this project. We're just launching this now, so we haven't got as much engagement and feedback, but I would like to talk about what I would like this project to turn into. So public key cryptography is the thing that's under threat, and public key cryptography is this infrastructure, this mathematical tool that allows us to send information to people who we've never met before. Because if you've met someone, you can establish a secret key with them, and then you can use that to communicate securely. But if you've never met them, that's difficult. And the way you can do it is using public key cryptography. So the slogan to remember is public keys encrypt and private keys decrypt. And when you do public key cryptography, you have a key pair. So this public key and private key are related to each other. And, for example, this is used very practically. Suppose you want to give a tip, that you want to be a whistleblower or something, and you want to contact a journalist. The Guardian lists a bunch of public keys for each journalist. If you want to send them some secret information and not have your email client see that information, then you go on this website, you find the public key of the person you want, you use that to encrypt your information, and then only them will be able to read it, only the person with the private key corresponding to that public key. So I think of it as someone distributing a bunch of locks. And if you want to send me a message, take one of my locks that I'm distributing, lock your message and send it to me. And I'm the only person who has the key for that lock. So I will be the only person who can read it. So that's the thing that we base most of our information security on online, on the internet. And quantum computers are going to be a threat to that because quantum computers can break these popular public key systems that we use today. So Shor's algorithm is the algorithm that you can use to leverage a quantum computer to decrypt encrypted messages, encrypted sensitive information, for example, using the RSA encryption scheme, which is widely used today. So just to give you a sense for when this threat will be realized, it's not a threat today in some sense because the quantum computers we have are just prototypes. But it's been estimated that when we get to 1 million physical qubits, that's when you'll have enough firepower in your quantum computer to use Shor's algorithm to start breaking the encryption keys that we use today. And although that seems like the threat is in the future, actually, we have to start transitioning our encryption infrastructure today because of a potential attack called the harvest now, decrypt later attack. And what happens in such attacks, just going back to our scenario from earlier about the Guardian, you could imagine someone getting a copy of that email. Maybe your email client gets compromised and get a copy of that email you've sent, which is encrypted. So they can't read that email, but what they can do is they can hold on to that email and wait 10, 15 years for that quantum computer to be built. And so then this tip, which was meant to be a secret, not just a secret today, but a secret forever, maybe you want to keep your identity private, that ends up being something that is now vulnerable to a quantum attack, even though the quantum computer isn't ready today. The fact that it'll be ready in the future creates a threat today. So that's the overall threat. That's the thing we are trying to gain, to spread more awareness of with our project, Quantum Time Capsule. So why is this awareness so important? I think more and more people in the world will have their work relate to quantum in some way. So that's one benefit, as we've heard already in the session, for example, in biology. But more than that, I think the transition to quantum cryptography, the post-quantum cryptography will require lots and lots of people. So we need to start getting many people aware of it. For example, already today, if you're choosing a VPN to download or you're choosing which messaging app to use, there is a practical decision you could make about your own information security, which relates to whether or not the software you're planning to download is post-quantum secure. And another thing I'll say is that I've seen this a lot in my personal life. People get misinformed because there's so much excitement about quantum computing. So this is really something that will affect every single person in society because everyone has some conception of quantum. And if it's the wrong one, then they risk getting pulled into something that is completely baseless, but has been connected with the idea of quantum to give it some legitimacy. Now, I want to say, like, what's a bit different about our project is that we don't seek to directly teach quantum ideas. We're talking about things that are really quite around quantum. So a lot of the ideas we've heard about today were about bringing the complexity of quantum science down a bit so that you can get more people onboarded onto quantum. That's a really important aspect of the equation. We just think that there should also be things that are adjacent to that. And we also think that no one's really done much to educate the broad public on this quantum threat to encryption. We hear about it in the news media, and we sometimes have events, I mean, like this event, but you don't really have a dedicated public campaign on trying to get everyone to know about the public threat. And I'm sure they'll start to emerge in the next 10 years, but here's our attempt. Here's the first one. Okay, so what is quantum time capsule? Well, here's what we do. We get you to write a secret message, and then we encrypt it using RSA. And then we throw away that private key, so that key that unlocks all the locks, we throw that away. So we now have this like locked message that's locked forever. Not even you can read it anymore. Certainly not the recipient can read it. No one can read it. But when a quantum computer is built, then you'll be able to decrypt that message and you'll be able to read it. And that kind of connects you to the history of quantum computing. It connects your message to the history of quantum computing. So our website is really simple. It's got a text box. We handle everything in the background. I hope you'll try it out. There's some cool animations when you hit encrypt. It's small there in text, but it sort of says, write a message worth waiting 20 years for. And it says, write a message to a friend. It'll be encrypted, so it can only be read when a powerful quantum computer is built. Once you do encrypt the message, it produces this draft email like this. There are two major pieces of data there. One is the number that you need to factorize in order to read the message. So that is the RSA number. That is a product of two prime numbers. And if you can factorize that, then you can break the message. But I think that's really cool because it makes it quite tangible what you need to do in order to read the message. You can see that number with your eyes. You can lay it out in front of you on a piece of paper, but you can't factorize it if you don't have a quantum computer. The second piece of data, that long string over there, is the encrypted message itself. Cool. So our hope with this project is that people will send each other these quantum time capsules, and then you'll have one person being an advocate to the other person. Hey, you should know about this thing, quantum computer. What's that? How does it work? When will my message be read? And I really, really like this idea that anybody can become a user of a quantum computer. This is just the beginning. There might be other ways to use them, but this is one we can point to today. The other thing I think which is quite important is it shines a spotlight on the progress in quantum computing. I get so many messages as a PhD student in quantum computing from family members who say things like, "Oh my God, I heard that Google had this big breakthrough. What does that mean? Are you going to like do something tomorrow with this?" And often what is happening is some incremental progress, which is very important to all of us, gets overblown in the news media, and people think, "Wow, like quantum is here finally." 5 years became 1 month somehow. Uh, and I think what this project will do is it will give people a yardstick. Okay, there's this progress in the news, but does it mean I can decrypt my quantum time capsule? No, it doesn't. So that makes you think again. Maybe, okay, there has been some progress, but at least they have a upper bound or yeah, upper bound on what the progress is. It's whatever the progress is, it's not like tomorrow all encryption is broken. So having that skin in the game, I think, gives people a better sense and a yardstick with which to think about what's actually happened when they hear about progress in quantum computing. I think it also asks and puts a spotlight on this question of quantum computing access, because you could imagine that there might be someday fears that no one else should access a quantum computer than the government because this can be used to break encryption. And at least doing this today starts to ask that question, hey, but then what about my time capsule? And it gets like people involved in that discourse. Um, and lastly, I think it also, then you kind of know because of these time capsules, whether it's happened yet that an RSA encryption has been broken. And that's another kind of yardstick that's valuable to have. I'll say on this point, I recently saw some chatter on social media that quantum computing manufacturers might put in some safeguards to ensure that quantum computers are never used to run Shor's algorithm because it's possibly like a bad use of a quantum computer. Um, if that happens, that kind of defeats our entire project here. But look, we've contributed to the discourse on whether that should or should not be the case. And finally, I think there are many ideas to pursue here. For example, you could put most of a story and leave the ending in a quantum time capsule. You could get a celebrity like Peter Shor himself of Shor's algorithm to write a message to a world where Shor's algorithm can be run to break RSA keys. You could put a bounty of some sort of cryptocurrency or a password into a quantum time capsule and reward somebody for factoring a number. So I hope you will take this idea into your courses, into your teaching, share it with your students, maybe send some quantum time capsules to your own friends, maybe save a message for yourself. That's all I have to say. I'll be curious to hear what you think, and just would like to advertise again the link, quantumtimecapsule.com, and also the fact that I'll be speaking again later about how to teach students their first quantum algorithm in this room at 3:15. Thank you so much.